will bring us the longer we...
Space Center, Florida. But these are not ordinary machines. They are the stuff that space flights are made of, brought together for the next manned flight into space, 10-day mission of Apollo 7, this country's next manned space flight. Stacked one upon the other to form a complete unit.
They would not be needed again until prior to re-entry. Each member of the flight crew will maintain a 16-hour work schedule, followed by
This flight will be a low Earth orbital mission concentrating on the life support systems, the propulsion systems, and the control systems. Now, in order to accomplish this, we will fly what we call an open-ended mission. What this means is we have a number of tests scheduled on these systems over the course of the flight, and we will fly as long as safety and the consumables on board permit, the limiting one being the oxygen available to the crew. During the course of the flight, we will accomplish as many things as we can early in the flight so that any earlier termination, earlier than the 10 days maximum, would allow us to have the qualifying data as much as possible on the spacecraft system.
I have an obligation to give my personal support to the Democratic Party. I will not be actively campaigning for any candidacy, however, other than my own, because that's the biggest thing on my horizon at this time.
So you would say then that your support would be qualified?
Well, no, I won't say qualified. I'm just do not have the time to devote to campaigning in any race other than my own.
Congressman, for years there have been Texans in the high places in Washington. Sam Rayburn, now Lyndon Johnson. In January, there will become a void. What will happen to Texas, and specifically to Dallas?
I don't think that will have any deleterious effect. As a matter of fact, the president has leaned over backwards not to give the indication that he's favoring Texas or was partial to the detriment of any other state. So really, I don't see any material difference in the change.
Well, I always enter something by saying, as my father did, wherever you are, make it a better place than it was where you came. So I don't know how much support he has now, but I have great hopes that when I leave, he will have more.
How much support do you think he's gained in recent weeks over the country?
I have a feeling that there is a considerable upsurge in the support of Hubert Humphrey. I feel that a large part of this is due to our people knowing him better. The more he communicates on television, the more he states his principles, his objectives, his goals. Of course, you have to begin this whole thing by knowing that I'm prejudiced in favor of this man, not because he's my brother so much, but because I believed in the things, the legislation, the purposes that he's espoused ever since he was mayor of Minneapolis. In fact, I wrote him a letter then. I'm 4 years younger, and I wrote him a letter when he was the young mayor that I wish he were not related to me, so he'd really believe what I said, that he was my candidate, and I believed in all the issues, and I didn't want him to think that I was just his little sister.
I'm a representative of the interline clubs of the world, and the interline clubs are formed to have better relationships and cooperation between all of the airlines in the world. So being highly competitive, you need to work together, and this is what we're trying to promote with the interline clubs.
And this promotion is for the benefit of the tourist, isn't it? For instance, if I were to take an airplane, I'd wind up a lot better off because of this new cooperation.
Oh, yes, very definitely. We'd be helping you get to a place where, say, for instance, Continental Airlines wouldn't fly into New York. You could take Continental to Chicago, and we would refer you to another airline that would take you on. I very definitely do. Like I was saying, well, I don't know if the men would say so, but I don't have to step on the little seats, you know, to get to the overhead racks.
I was going to say, I've seen some of those little ones
yeah.
struggling to get the pillows and so on up above.
Of course, it's a thrill for all the businessmen that are flying.
Why?
Now they get to see a lot of legs. And with the skirts today, it's a lot of legs.
Which leads us to the next question. Now, what do you think of the new styles?
Oh, I think they're great. Our Continental uniform, we just were authorized to go up another 4 inches, which is great, you know, just let them keep going up.
The Southwest Conference faculty representatives today rescinded the 2-visit regulation that has been in effect for about 8 years. In making the change in this rule, the conference unanimously agreed that it is a good rule for all concerned, especially for the prospective athlete, and is hopeful it may be adopted nationally someday. But they felt the change today was necessary to meet the competition in recruiting. Visits to a prospective athlete and or his parents in his hometown had been limited to 2 visits before the sign-up date and to do 2 visits after that date. In the future, after today's action, there will not be a restriction on the number of visits before or after the sign-up date.